Hello all you wished upon a vloggers and welcome back to another video, and tonight is of course Retro Fridays, and I know that a lot of you really look forward to me doing these videos. Thank you so much for all the support I've been given for these, and I really enjoy them as well, and it's just really fun to do on the weekends. So I thought that I would go for a bit of a dark and mysterious sort of more vibe, because you know we're getting very close to Halloween and I have this ghost freaky lady behind me. Don't mind if she stays that far back, but if she starts to get a bit closer, guys, not gonna lie, I ain't staying in this room. Just saying. Now, I do have my notes with me as always, but tonight, cannot wait to talk about this movie. What a classic this movie, The Frighteners, is, which was, of course, produced, directed, and written by the one and only legend himself, Peter freaking well Jackson. And this movie is of course a cult movie, but there's also humour to it as well. And honestly, the work that he done on this movie, and just this whole movie as an overall in general, it was a very bold movie, especially back when it was out. But to be honest, I have to say that this movie has always, lived up to how good it was, and the visuals as well. Even I watch this every year in October, very close to Halloween. I would more watch this, but the thing about it is it's still today is fantastic. I personally think anyway. It might not be the same for everybody else, sorry, but it certainly is for me. I still absolutely love this movie, and what I love is the fact that Peter Jackson, he films all his films in New Zealand, pretty much. I mean, we've got the likes of King Kong, we've got Lord of the Rings, Bad Taste, Dead Alive. Obviously the list does very much go on, but you get the gist. And as always, Peter Jackson, he always has to really, coolly, sort of fit. Is coolly even a word? I don't know, he's gonna let me know. But it's very cool that he always does his little, cameo appearances in his movies, because of course, he cameos in Lord of the Rings, Bad Taste, Dead Alive, and I have actually done a Retro Friday of both Bad Taste and also Dead Alive, in case anybody wants to go and check them out on my channel. But he actually, of course, cameos in this movie, The Frighteners. Basically, he bumps into Frank, they're out in the street, played by Michael J. Fox. And it's so funny because Peter Jackson is wearing a white t-shirt and it has the Grim Reaper on it. Grim Reaper, this movie makes sense. This movie actually really did make Peter Jackson's career, although he already did fantastic work before that, and he had done many other projects as well. Of course, he's always been fantastic, but he even said as well that this is what made Lord of the Rings possible, and he actually said that this movie, The Frighteners, that he done actually was so crucial for his career. So he's just so happy that if you're a big fan of Peter Jackson, you already know this, but he's just so happy that The Frighteners got such a fantastic reception as what it did. Otherwise, sadly we wouldn't actually have probably Lord of the Rings, which is kind of a sad thought really. So I'm actually really happy that we got The Frighteners, because The Frighteners is an amazing movie obviously, but aside that, we may not have got Lord of the Rings, guys, so that's really cool. And I want to really quickly mention that Danny Elfman, classic legend, he of course did the music for this movie, and Danny Elfman, we could go on forever and a day, the amazing list of movies that he has done, pretty much all the good classic movies. And of course, we have him to thank for the brilliant intro music of The Simpsons. And The Frighteners used, this is what I love, they used visual effects, but that movie also used so many digital effect shots as well, and they actually used pretty much way more than any movie until that time. And this movie, I thought visually was fantastic. I have heard people saying that it was too cartoony or whatever, but I actually think that it was brilliantly visually was what made it really stand out as really bold work, actually, in my personal opinion. And the thing about it is as well, Peter Jackson, you know, spoke that the fact that he didn't have a massive amount of time to actually work on this movie. He was being kind of pushed for it to be sort of released. And that kind of makes me go even more so, you know, hats off to you, mate, because, you know, you had, you know, a short time to work on such a huge, you know, movie back then. And Wes Takahashi, he actually was hired as the effects supervisor, the visual effects supervisor, and he even went to Peter Jackson's home, actually, and, you know, had a whole conversation, you know, and then of course, you know, he was hired for the movie. And what's really cool is he's worked on all the Back to the Future movies, so that's really cool because of course, you know, Michael J. Fox was the lead character in this entire movie. He also done the Goonies, which I have actually did a Retro Friday on, interestingly, in case anyone's interested. It was actually the very first ever Retro Fridays that I actually did for this series that I started. And also, he also worked on Willow. I love that movie, and that is one that I definitely have in the back of my mind to do at some stage. Don't know when, but I will. But one thing I wanted to mention, because I know that so many people are going to be saying it down in the comments, but Ermey's character from the movie Full Metal Jacket, I know that if I don't say this, I'm going to get a massive array of comments talking about it. And he played a ghost. It's a war movie, in case you haven't seen it, called Full Metal Jacket. And it's so cool that that he was actually in this as a ghost, basically. So a lot of people love that, and that's one of the most, like, you know, people are like, that's the best part of the movie kind of thing. So I can't not say that, so just really want to quickly say that. So the movie opens up absolutely fantastically. What a great opening scene. It opens up with a big massive house, almost like a mansion, and it's like really stormy. Really awesome vibe to start off with. And there's a girl chased by a spirit, and the spirit is trying to push through the walls and even, you know, up through, you know, the carpet on the staircase. And that is absolutely fantastic. Those visuals of you know, the coming through the walls and everything, you got to see that quite a lot. That is so cool throughout the movie, and I love the shot. I thought it was absolutely fantastic the way they done it. Was you get to see it come right up from underneath the carpet, and right, it comes up towards, you know, like us, up towards the camera, and sort of like towards us, like watching the screen, obviously. And I honestly thought that scene was absolutely fantastic. And, you know, you can tell that, you know, they didn't do this movie half-assed, and they really did take the time that they had. I know they probably didn't get as much time as they wanted to actually do the movie, but at the same time, for the time they were sort of pushed to bring it out on, they literally must have stayed up like all hours just to get this movie bang on. It really was such, not only a great story, but it had a fantastic twist as well. I think this is, you know, a fantastic twist in the Frighteners. Frank Bannister, who of course is played by lead character Michael J. Fox, and he pretends, you know, he's pretty much a pretend, you know, sort of like a con artist, paranormal investigator. And he does this by using like a trio of spirits, you know, ghosts basically. And we're led, you know, to believe throughout the movie that it's literally just the Grim Reaper himself, you know, going around and killing everybody in the town basically. But then we get to find out that it's actually the spirit of a serial killer that's actually underneath the cloak of the Grim Reaper. You know, sort of like attached to him, if that makes sense, called Bartlett. And Bartlett, he has a girlfriend, you know, before obviously, you know, he died. He had a girlfriend, and basically her character in this, you know, she is a serial killer as well. They were both just crazy serial killers. And although he is now a spirit, she is basically, you know, helping him, you know, accomplice or whatever you want to call it, to kill him, you know. And I absolutely have to talk about this because he's one of my favourites in the movie, along with Michael J. Fox. Michael J. Fox is my favourite in this movie, but my second favourite character, in case anyone is interested, you can let me know who yours is, by the way, is the FBI agent played by Jeffrey Combs. He is a freaking lunatic. He is absolutely hilarious, and I just think he's so fantastic. And my boyfriend was saying to me that he thinks he would do a good job at playing like a live action version of Mr. Burns if they ever, for some crazy reason, decided to do a live action of The Simpsons. You know, everything's becoming live action nowadays, so you know, you never know. And also, we also had, I thought she was great in this, great actress, great in the movie. I hope I pronounced her name right, forgive me if not. Trini Alvarado, and she played Lucy, which, you know, she was also the lead character in this with, you know, Michael J. Fox, and she played Frank's love interest. And just in case you're interested, some of my favourite scenes is, you know, if you've seen the movie, you'll know, but you know, when Frank goes to Lucy's house, and they, you know, they phoned him, you know, because that their house was haunted and everything, and he goes and obviously uses, you know, his trio of accomplices, his trio of ghosts, and he has like a gun, and they're like, oh, you know, but it's just holy water, and he's just walking around spraying with holy water and talking all like, you know, like, oh, I think it's this, I think it's that, and everything. Like, it's just absolutely hilarious, because like you would freak out if you just seen someone like randomly lifting a gun in your freaking well kitchen. I certainly would anyways. But my favourite overall scene in this movie, favourite, why not just say your overall favourite scene, Julie? Shut up. But you know, the bathroom scene of the Grim Reaper, and it's actually in the mirror of the bathroom beside the sinks, and you just see him coming out, you know, his head and everything, and it's so cool because it's like best way to describe it would be kind of like, I'm awful at explaining things, but like liquid metal, you know, coming out of the mirror. And it also kind of reminds me of one of my favourite scenes, my favourite scene actually, of Ash, you know, aka Ashy Slashy, you know, Evil Dead, where he's like putting his hand into the mirror, and it's sort of like, it's like water but like liquid metal. Am I explaining myself well? Probably not, so we're just going to move on. But I absolutely love that part. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And also when one of his accomplice ghosts were like coming out of the car, and it's like the way they come out and like lift their leg and like bring it down onto the ground outside, I thought it was fantastic. And like this movie used blue screen as well. Like, I know a lot about it because I've watched so many videos about Peter Jackson, because I love the guy. I think he's freaking awesome at horror movies. He's just like slapstick and horror. He's really good at what he does, and I enjoy reading about him. And of course I love Lord of the Rings, but they used a ton of blue screen, and that's what they used for that, because I've watched a ton of like behind the scenes stuff, like a lot of behind the scenes, and you know, you get a lot of that on YouTube and stuff as well, if anybody is, you know, interested in the behind the scenes stuff. And Peter Jackson talking about, you know, the Frighteners and other movies, of course, that he's done as well. So there you go. But when you see this movie the whole way through, it's just so cool to see the twist. Do you know, like watching it from start to end, you're like, wow, that was a great twist and a great story as well, of course, you know, as I was saying earlier. But, and also as well, you know, it just shows you the imagination, the great imagination actually, that Peter Jackson actually has. You know, he's a great imagination for movies, and you know, he really is great at what he does. And I think that this movie really did massively show his potential and what he could actually do, and the fact that, you know, he does really work hard, and you know, everybody has to start somewhere, you know, and work your way up. Obviously, as I was saying, he's did tons of movies before that, you know, Dead Alive, Bad Taste, you know, and you know, if you watch those movies, you might think to yourself, like, wow, how did he go from there to there? But they're still amazing movies, if that makes sense. But what I'm trying to say is, you know, that guy has worked his darn ass off to get to where he has, and I'm just so happy that when he did the Frighteners, Hollywood was like, I see you, dude. I see you with the great visuals. You know, I see you with, you know, great imagination, and you're good. You're good at movies. We want you. And I'm so glad, because as I was saying earlier, without repeating myself, we may not have had, Lord of the Rings, and like that really is a weird thought, isn't it? But anyhow, that would disappoint a lot of, of course, Lord of the Rings fans to even, even think of that. But we don't need to, because he did do Lord of the Rings, so happy freaking days is here again. But, before I love yous and leave yous, I just want to say, overall, I honestly think that this is a fantastic movie. Now, if you haven't seen it, sorry that I have spoiled it in every way, shape or form possible, but it is a really old movie. But what I will say is, if you like Peter Jackson, right, you've seen Lord of the Rings and you maybe didn't even know, you'd heard of the Frighteners but you didn't know it was Peter Jackson, I would highly recommend that you do watch this, because this was the movie that really was so, as he said himself personally, was so crucial to his career, that actually give him the opportunity to be noticed to do Lord of the Rings. It could be really cool for you as a fan of Peter Jackson, if anything, to watch the movie. I think you would actually find it quite interesting. And also, if you haven't seen Bad Taste or Dead Alive, I would also highly recommend those two movies as well. Now, I will say they're a bit out there. They're a bit crazy, like very slapsticky, but they're freaking absolutely fantastic. And as I say, I have did both of those for Retro Fridays, 2 separate videos. So if you just want to watch them, I'm sure you'll be able to find them on my channel. So before I love yous and leave yous, I want to say thank you very much for watching. But what I want to do is I want to actually, before you go anywhere, I want to show you a really interesting clip of basically how they actually done Grim Reaper in this movie, and how they got it to look visually the way they made it look. I hope some of you will find it interesting, because I personally think it's really interesting myself. So I'm going to leave you with that in a second, but other than that, thank you so much for watching. Hope some of you can still come and join me next Friday for another Retro Fridays, and until then, don't forget that the Force will be with you always. Thank you so much for all the support and everything that you all do to support me, no matter what it is. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, from Ireland. So yeah, bye guys.
Is dead serious.
It's like the Grim Reaper out of medieval sort of etchings and things, the figure with the cowl and the cape and the scythe. And he is a scary figure. I wanted a predator, something that moves in animalistic kind of ways and will get you no matter where you are. You can't escape.
Conceptual artist Christian Rivers spent 2 months experimenting with Reaper designs on paper.
It's sort of the cloak and the creature are one. It's like the cloak goes down and sort of forms into the hands and the hood.
The Reaper was further developed by filming tests with rod puppets and people in suits. With its character established, the Reaper's next step was in the digital realm.
And that is the first time that the predatorial nature of the figure really came alive, as far as I was concerned. When he came out of the computer and he suddenly looked scary.
After nearly 2 years of development and production down under, Peter Jackson's mix of friendly and deadly Frighteners has burst onto the screen, signaling the existence of special effects life beyond Hollywood.
In New Zealand, we've never been able to do blue screen matting. No lab in New Zealand has ever been able to do it. But suddenly we have this box sitting here in this building, and we can do the best blue screen mats in the world based on the software that's in that computer. It's accessible to anybody now, which I think is the most wonderful thing of all. I don't think the Frighteners necessarily puts New Zealand on the special effects map of the world. I think the Frightners puts any country on the special effects map of the world.